The environmental contaminated site that we will further explore is Wittenoom, Australia. The photo here on the left is a warning displayed prior to entering the contaminated region, alerting of the asbestos hazards ahead. Wittenoom was a mining town that produced blue asbestos in large quantities for domestic and international consumers and became very profitable. The CSR mine employed nearly 7,000 people from 1930 until 1966, at which point the mine closed due to suspected health hazards. Asbestos was not confined to just the miners. It was used on driveways, carried on the clothes of workers, and traveled in the air with weather patterns, for instance, where individuals proximal to those workers too became sickened. Asbestos was commonly used for insulation and is resistant to heat and fires. The profitability of the asbestos mines and job stability for employees did not warrant much alarm when asbestos was initially understood to be harmful. A large number of employees were immigrants who immigrated after World War II. Subsequently, mining for asbestos became responsible for about 2,000 deaths. The tailings of asbestos fibers enter water sources today and still remain a significant problem. Some of the occupations that may be exposed to asbestos include asbestos miners, aircraft and auto mechanics, boiler operators, building construction workers, electricians, railroad workers, shipyard workers, and workers removing asbestos insulation around seam pipes in old buildings. Mesothelioma is a type of cancer that occurs in the thin tissues that covers the lungs. Asbestos exposures can cause mesothelioma. Figure 2 here depicts the incidence of mesothelioma in Australia over a 30-year period. On average, mesothelioma is diagnosed 30 to 45 years after exposure. In 1982, the number of cases for men was 135, and in 2011 it was 592, and for females was 22 in 1982, and rose to 118 in 2011. The majority of asbestos-related deaths in Australia were reported to be asbestos-related lung cancer and mesothelioma, accounting for about 3,800 deaths in 2017. Figure 4 shows age-standardized incidence rates of mesothelioma among men in nations with the highest incidence. The age standardization is done to allow populations to be compared when age profiles are different. Australia has the second highest mesothelioma incidence globally after the United Kingdom. Following Australia are Malta, the Netherlands, New Zealand, and Belgium. About 88% of asbestos-related cases are in high-income countries, with almost no reports from low-income countries. Aboriginal Australians are a marginalized group of Indigenous people in the mainland. They have cultural norms and devotion to land, some of which is contaminated with asbestos. 77% of male Aboriginals reported to have mesothelioma, as compared to 23% of females, with about 67% of cases being attributed to Wittenoom, and reported to being mill workers, transport workers, and residents. The first Aboriginal case of mesothelioma related to asbestos was diagnosed in 1975. 23% of Aboriginal women versus 13.7% of non-Aboriginal women have mesothelioma and are overall younger. So in summary, asbestos exposure has long-term health effects and can be seen in a multitude of spaces among several occupations. Mesothelioma, lung cancer, ovarian cancer, and laryngeal cancer may ensue after asbestos exposure, and Australia's high productivity asbestos has had implications for Indigenous populations, different age populations, and for the environment.